What's going on, everyone? So in this video, we're going to step into that last leg of the mini series where we're talking about increasing attack power of a particular troop type. We're going through the range, and today we're into the gear. So I'm going to jump right in and get this thing going. The Wormbone Coronet is going to be one of your best free to play pieces of gear, and it's going to give you a 5.25%, which is almost as good as what the pay-to-play gear is going to give you, which is 5.5% in total. When you're just talking about, hey, I put this piece of gear on and my attack power for my ranged attack went up, not only the 4%, but then the army attack on top of that of 1.5 for a total of 5.5, which just beats that out by, 0.25% there. So 25 hundredths, I believe is how you'd say that. But in any case, it just barely edges it out with that extra army attack boost. And so you free to play players are going to get that Wormbone Coronet, but you pay to play players might even consider just doing the Wormbone Coronet instead of the champion visor or armet. And basically these two are the essentially the same, because you get the 4% for the ranged attack plus the army attack of 1.5 on both, and the difference really is like, do I want my cavalry or my infantry to also receive that boost? And if we're talking about ranged specifically, I would go for the cavalry because I want them to beat down any of the infantry that might otherwise be hurting my ranged. So that's what I do on the helmet there. And then with, let's see here, with main hand, we've got the, where is it? Nectar Orb. I would go with over the Decadent Sword, even though these are basically the same for ranged. You got the 4% for both of them. I would go over the Nectar Orb for the same reasons as I stated before, cavalry over infantry. Plus you also get the ranged max HP boost on that one over the infantry maxed HP boost. So this is going to be better for your range, the Nectar Orb, if you're a free-to-play player. If you're a pay-to-play player, you kind of run into that same situation. 3.2 plus an army attack of 2.4. So these are going to be your best bets, but we're going to go with the cavalry over the infantry, and I'm going to recommend the Great Sword for if you're trying to get that extra little boost out of your ranged attack. You're going to get a grand total of 5.9% here, or 5.7% here. 6? Let me math. Math is hard. So 5.6% with that boost over the Nectar Orb, which is just 4%. Then we're going to go into the armor, and the Beastly Breastplate is going to be where your free-to-play attack power is at, and you get a nice chunk on this, so this is worth developing. But you do need to kill Hoot Claws, which are one of the newer monsters, so it may take you some time to develop. But trust me, you want to get that one going if you like to increase your ranged attack, and especially if you're a free-to-play player. And then this isn't far off from the pay-to-play gear, which is 6.5, and you're already getting 5.6. So pay-to-play players for that extra less than 1%, 0.9/10%. Yep, 0.9%. You're going to get the ranged attack boost, and so you may not go after this first because there's no army attack boost on top of that. If I was developing champion gear and I wanted to boost up my ranged attack using that, this is not the first piece that I would develop. It'd be one of the last, especially because this one comes so close and it's a free-to-play, a lot easier to get that gear. In fact, a lot of times when you buy champion pack gear, you get some materials to help you build free-to-play pieces. Although it may not be the Hoot Claw, you certainly have those opportunities where you're going to come across those situations where you might build a free-to-play piece instead of focusing on the pay-to-play piece, because you're busy building up a different pay-to-play piece. Jeez. So let's jump into the offhand, and we're going to go for the Eternal Codex for the ranged attack of 5.5%, and then your ranged attack here, you're not going to get another ranged boost out of this. So 4.8, no army attack boost here. So this Eternal Codex is actually going to beat out the champion gear, specifically talking about ranged attack, 5.5, 5.5. And you know, if I'm spending money on getting this champion gear one way or the other, then I'm going to look at this and go, okay, well, I'm going to put my effort into a different piece and get this free to play piece, which isn't even hard to get the materials for, because probably since the beginning of the game you've been playing with Grim Reaper, and that's just something you're probably going to have the materials to build up rather quickly over trying to do one of these champion offhand ranged attack boosts. So that's kind of my stance on that one. And then the durable. Nope. So for the legs, oh yes. So the Dragon's Talon is going to be the best free-to-play piece. You're going to get 4.8% out of that one. And then the champion boots are going to be a little bit better at 6.4%. And then you also get that army attack on top, so you're getting a 7.9%. It's one of the better pieces of champion gear that you can build for your ranged attack, if that's what you're looking to do. Again, you know, kind of putting emphasis on, it takes a while to get these materials, in particular these Crimson Mains. And so if you want to use those wisely, I wouldn't do it on some of those pieces, but on the champion boost, it's certainly worth a 7.9% initial boost. And overall, in the end, you're going to get a 70% boost on your ranged attack in total by equipping this piece of equipment. And so that's something that I think is really worthwhile. And then again, those Dragon Talons, again, 4.8% is not bad either. You get a nice little army max HP increase, so your range, you'll see some benefit out of that one too. I like those a lot for a free piece. As far as where do I start developing things? Oh, I think I'm going to start with my legs. Now, this one's going to win them both. Ambrosial Cup. There's no champion anything in here that's worth, like the Valor only gives a ranged attack plus army attack of 3.9, whereas you're going to get 4% straight out from this, plus your infantry and ranged max HP both go up with that. So it's a much nicer piece for me with that than either of these are. So that is my opinion on the way to, either whether you're paid or free player, to boost up that attack power for your range, and how to think about, hey, if this is tied with this piece, obviously if I have more materials for one and not enough for another, I'm going to choose the one that I have materials for. But otherwise, if I have materials for both, then it's an option. And I'm looking maybe even at what kind of monsters I'm going to kill on the map. That's what I'm going to think about, is like, okay, so I want my primary, I want my ranged attack power up, and then on top of that, maybe I can get my cavalry a power up in a complementary way where I'm doing both, and that way my cavalry will take down their infantry when they're hitting my castle, and their infantry won't do as much damage to my range. Meanwhile, my ranged are going to be hammering down on mainly their cavalry, but all their troops, with lots and lots and lots of attack power. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about putting my gear together if I'm a ranged heavy attacker or defender, warmonger, whatever you want to call yourself in that situation. And that's it for this video. If you guys have any questions, hit me up in those comments. I'll see you in the next one.